Welcome back. You're with us on Bazaar Morning Call. Well, we're putting the spotlight on the defense space for very obvious reasons and looking at one of the companies, of course, listed here in India. Paras Defense and Space Technologies is the company on our radar as the conflict in West Asia rages on. Let's look at whether Paras can be impacted or if there is any sort of a risk to the business plans whatsoever, because Paras has been, of course, catering to major Israeli customers as well. Let's talk about this with Amit Mahajan, Director Technical and R&D at Paras Defense and Space Technologies. That's exactly the question, Amit. Just tell us your engagement right now, at what level in terms of what projects with the Israelis? And have there been any phone calls, conversations of the last couple of days, given what's going on?
Firstly, good morning and thank you for having me over. Our engagement with Israel is less to do with exports and more to do with technology tie-ups and bringing cutting-edge technologies to make in India and then provide it to our Indian customers. So if you look at it from that standpoint, whatever is happening in that region, that may little slow down that particular process, but these are all businesses which are for the future. When it comes to current business of Paras Defense, the reliance on export is minimal and reliance on exports to Israel in specific is limited. So we are exporting to US, we are exporting to Europe, we are exporting to Far East as well. So all of these areas are still there when it comes to export market, but when it comes to technology tie-ups, these technology tie-ups are well strong even right now, and the most of the technologies are already shared. Plus, Paras has an in-house development capabilities which constitute to almost 80-90% of the product revenues that they deliver today. So the dependency on technology on outside world is limited.
So, no, get that point, Amit. I mean, no one is saying that there's a huge sort of 50% exposure to your revenues. Not at all. We're just trying to understand the level of engagement you're at. So you're saying a lot of the tech transfer conversations, they were anyway for future projects. What is the kind of delay you'd anticipate?
About a week or 2 weeks.
That's it.
That's how agile the discussions are going on.
Oh, okay. So you're not expecting any major delay in some of these projects that you're talking about, which is, I think, a JV for hydrogen-powered drone systems. I think you have an MOU for drone camera technology as well. Also tell us, aren't you also exporting to some Israeli customers? Are there absolutely no exports to any Israeli clients?
Like I said, the exports to Israeli customers, say if I have to put an example of a camera, then I'm giving the lenses which are manufactured in the premises of Paras and giving lenses as a component for our Israeli customers. Now, if the value of that lens as compared to the business of Paras Defense is very, very minimal, the percentage of exports to Israel in specific is very limited.
What is that percentage? Just for our reference. I know it's very small, like you're saying, but just so that we know.
It will be less than 5%.
Got it. All right.
Hi, Amit. Good morning. Good to see you in. But exports as a percentage of business, I think it was in mid-teens, right? Given the way the globe is, evolving, what kind of exposure are you looking at with regard to export revenue? Point number one. And also, if you could tell us imports, you'll import some part of your requirement. Are there any supply disruptions? You heard of freight rates going up, shipping industry as well as going through various other factors at play out there. So give us some kind of color on both imports as well as the exports.
So like I've always maintained that our exports is always our plan B. And it was for different reasons, for sure, that our domestic positioning, our domestic market and domestic procurement is at all-time high. So for me to do an export, I'm going into a competitive space. That was my reasoning for why I always maintained that export is going to be plan B. But like I'm telling you, it's plan B. So my export percentage was always between 10-15%, and that too, something which is coming out of self-weight. I am not planning, I am not basing my growth on the basis of the kind of exports I'm going to do, be it Europe, be it Americas, or be it Middle East region that we're talking about. But when it comes to imports, we currently do not see any, we do not have any indications as per the disruption particulars when it comes to our supply chain. about 30% of our dependency is on export components, import components. And we don't see, as of now, we've not got any indications that any of those disruptions are going to affect our business line.
Right. Amit, slightly, as we wind down, slightly larger question here. With regards to this conflict in Iran and Israel, I think, right, what is becoming clear and maybe will get clearer is that, you know, air defense systems are much more crucial. It looks like, you know, for example, if you're tracking what's happening, I mean, Iran is able to overwhelm Israel's air defenses, right? In a big way, and defensive systems would need to be, I mean, you can't produce them at mass scale. Maybe you can, I don't know. But they need to be a lot more accurate. Each of those things cost apparently, the Arrow, etc., costs $2 billion a piece. So do you work in that segment at all? Do you supply or work on platforms which are essentially air defense?
So if
do you supply anything?
If you have a look at our presentation, which was updated maybe far before the kind of conflicts that we're looking at, right? So although we don't do a complete air defense solution, we do a lot of components for air defense. Today, the biggest contract that we have received from DRDO is for an air defense application. So air defense is going to be the key. It is a very, very complex technology. Like you rightly said, some things get intercepted, some things don't. So it has to be technologically multi-layered. So it has to cater to something which is low flying, something which is very, very fast moving, something which is high flying. So all of these, it's a very complex thing to first detect it and then subsequently track it down and then intercept. So this is it's like a very complex technology, and we are very proud that we are a significant part of this air defense currently for India, and then maybe tomorrow for export as well.
Which platform in India, if you can share? And what exactly do you make for them? I mean, to the degree that you can tell us.
We are associated with almost all the programs that you think have played a role in the conflict that we are aware of. So we are one of the first few companies a part of BrahMos. So from the first BrahMos ever made till all the BrahMos that are being made, we are always a part of it. From
so
that
just
to a laser based interception system. So we are a part of all the air defense systems.
got it. And Amit, finally, just to get a sense, and this is a question, say, 2-3 years out. Obviously, you've got a big opportunity in India, and you've spoken about those numbers, right? That you're expecting 40% revenue growth this year, etc. The export opportunity, I mean, and I'm just wondering, because after Operation Sindoor, we understand that a lot of inquiries have been coming to Indian vendors, suppliers of different parts, subsystems, etc. So I think exports are about 16% of your total pie right now. Are you seeing heightened inquiries from any, external geographies, and which would those geographies be? What is your own take on the growth in exports?
So the effect of Indian technology working in a particular conflict is definitely going to have a very, very positive impact when it comes to outlook of a foreign company looking at trying to source from India. Earlier, it used to be only low cost. Today, it's going to be low cost and field proven, if I may call it that. But what I'm trying to say here is the geopolitical scenario and the demographic positioning of India when it comes to global countries. I think that is going to be the key why India can be looked at as an ally by many countries who are mutually conflicting. So I think India will slowly tend to become an export hub of defense technologies.
Okay. All right, Amit. Got that. Thanks very much for your time. Appreciate the conversation this morning. Well, that's Paras Defense, one of the many, many companies in the Indian defense ecosystem. Let's go back to